Welcome to the SOB radio show, where we have fun, interesting guests, and hot topics. Each week, we offer insights into music, fashion, health, fitness, and humor. Do you have the perfect guest for us to interview? I want to know. Drop me a line on our Facebook page at Spunky Old Broad 1 or reach out to me on our website at spunkyoldbroad.com. And now, back to the show. Hi, everybody. This is Gayle Carson, and I'm back with Phyllis McNeal, who is a life coach and has a huge background as a teacher and a consultant and also a leader. And she's been talking about how she has had the opportunity to go to Japan when she was 55 and start a new career over there. She also she's just written a book. And, the book itself is very interesting and has helped a lot of people too. So she'll tell us more about that as we go along. But I believe the name of the book is Sassy, Classy, and Smart, which is something that Phyllis is indeed. So welcome back, Phyllis.
Thank you so much, Dr. Carson. It's good to be back.
So what would you say is the thing that you're most proud of at this point in your life?
Oh, I am most proud of overcoming, capital letters, overcoming many, many things in life. And I guess this would address your poor me person. I have overcome racism because I grew up I graduated high school in 1959. Things were not very easy for me in 1959, okay? I was the first black student in my class in my school, actually. I've overcome abuse. You were talking about your wonderful parents, and my parents were wonderful too. The only problem was what I discovered in writing my book is they also had low self-esteem. They were poorly educated because they both had to go out to work very young in life, so they didn't have the benefit of education, and they brought me up as best they knew. What I realized is their self-esteem was very low, and a lot of the things that were said to me were the best things that they knew how to say, but unfortunately they had a great impact on me as a small child. I have overcome domestic violence. As I said earlier, marrying people is, as Dr. Phil says, should be like going for a job interview. Well, I didn't know that, and I didn't have a Dr. Phil at that time. So I went into marriage blind and unfortunately married someone who was an alcoholic. And I experienced domestic violence. I went to court to get an order of protection by myself. I sat and cried and said, this is not the life that I want. But I overcame that and moved on, went on to raise my children alone as a single parent. And I have 3 wonderful, wonderful children who are very, very responsible and 5 wonderful grandchildren. My children are raising their children like I raised them. So I'm very proud of what I've accomplished in that area. I came from a dysfunctional family, and I've overcome that. A lot of people use that as a blanket term. Oh, my family was dysfunctional. Well, when you live with alcoholics and you have a mixed-up kind of situation, it's very dysfunctional. And a lot of things I thought were red and somebody would tell me was green. It was very confusing as a 5 or 6-year-old child. But I've overcome that. And as I said, being a single parent, a lot of people like to blame single parents for all the ills in the world, and I beg to differ with them because I sacrificed a lot, including dating, so that I could be home. When I punished my children and said, you have to stay home Saturday night, I was there, right there with them. So I would say I'm most proud of overcoming all the challenges in life. And by far, my challenges were nowhere near some of the challenges that many other people experience, but I'm very proud of the fact that I've lived through them and not sought out drugs or other things that people use to ameliorate their situation. I stuck with it, rolled up my sleeves, and did what I had to do.
Well, talking about some of the issues that you've brought up, I think it's very, very important to make people aware that you either make excuses or you
Mm-hmm.
do something about it. That's the key.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I've talked with audiences and had people say to me, "Well, my mom this and my mom that," and I say to her, "Well, I said to this one particular person, is your mom still here? Is she still with us?" And she said, no. And I said, well, how long ago did she pass away? And she said 30 years. And I thought to myself,
Right.
wow, this woman passed away 30 years ago and is still controlling your life.
Yes.
And then you become the issue. You're not getting
Yes.
the help you need, or you're not doing the things that you need to do, as you say, to overcome the situation. And it's so hard for me to understand and believe that what happened to somebody so many years ago has that impact to control them at this point in their life. And you're right. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, a friend of ours just passed away, Bob Danzig. Bob was a foster child. He lived in 14 foster homes, and he rose to become CEO of the Hearst Corporation. And I knew
Mm-hmm.
Bob, and he was just one of the finest people in the world. All the money that he made in speaking, he donated to foster child organizations. And you either come to terms with what your situation is, whatever it is, make it
Yeah.
better, or you drown in it. And that's the problem. They drown in it. So here you are at the ripe young age of 76. What are your goals and dreams for the future?
Oh, my goals are to, first of all, write a few more books. One of them about aging with exuberance. That's the title of my next
Oh, I love
book.
that. I love that. Aging with exuberance. I love that.
To write a couple more books, but also to promote my book around the world. And I hope to share it with women in other countries. I hope to have it translated at least in three languages: Japanese, Spanish, and Chinese, and hope to speak to women around the world because I do enjoy travel. And I know that from living in Japan, one of the reasons I started the Women's Network was I found that women all over the world have many, many things in common. At the time, I was menopausal. So we shared a discussion of menopause and other things that affect women. And they found it refreshing to be able to share that because Japanese women are culturally kind of put in the background. The husbands and fathers are in the back, in the front and forefront, and it is a male-dominated country. So women don't realize the strength they have. And one of my little young friends used to say, "Phyllis, son, you're going to be deported. Don't say things like that." I said, "Well, I'm just being encouraging. I'm not trying to get anybody in trouble. I'm not trying to cause any trouble, but I just want women to understand they have things of value themselves."
So
And I had the great.
in your women's network,
Mhm.
did you have Americans and Japanese and other cultures,
Yes,
or what
yes,
was the more
yes.
majority?
I, well, it was really, I'm always starting things. It was really an outgrowth of one of my Japanese friends invited me to Sunday dinner, and she invited two other ladies, and we sat and we chatted about various things that women have. And I said, we ought to do this on a regular basis. So the next time, I invited those ladies and some American women who were teaching English as well to my home. And so we had 8 women who now we had 4 Japanese ladies and 4 American ladies. And that eventually expanded to many more women. And once a month we would get together, and wherever it was, at whose house it was, they would cook or provide food or whatever. And we just sit around for a couple of hours and chat about issues, world issues, news issues. That was quite a while ago. So they were talking about when Hillary Clinton took a delegation to China and the difficulties that the women encountered. And I actually met a woman who had been to China on that delegation. So that was just a wonderful experience for me. And that's one of the things you gain from going to other countries and experiencing other cultures. You meet some of the most fascinating, wonderful people who've had the most wonderful experiences, which I get excited about.
I mean, I agree with you. I've had the fortune of speaking in 50 countries. So, in
Wow.
doing so, I have found, I found everybody wonderful. People
Yes.
invited me to their homes. They wanted
Yes.
to take me to these special places. They just were
Mhm.
just outstanding. And I
Mhm.
found, I mean, I always wanted to come back and live in the U.S. I didn't want to live anywhere else. However,
Right.
I will say that I was just treated with such great humor and respect and dignity and joy, and that was just
Yes.
simply wonderful to me. So
Yes.
what areas of your life right now make you feel the best? I know you're excited about everything you're doing, but what makes you feel the best?
Okay, yes, I have several areas. First is my spirituality. I'm not sure if it's because I live in a very beautiful place with beautiful flowers and trees around and beautiful green grass, and my house gets the east and west sun. I'm not sure if that's what it is, but
But you
I
chose that,
spent.
Phyllis. You chose that.
Yes, I did. No, I'm about to say why. I'm not sure if it's because of that environment or just the fact that I'm alone, but I've spent many moments in solitude and have discovered many things about myself that were wonderful or needed improvement, and I've been working on. My instincts, I tended to ignore in the past, and I'm now paying more attention to my instincts because my not listening to my instincts kind of got me in trouble a couple of times with investments and buying a property that I shouldn't have, things of that sort. So my spirituality has been enhanced. The second thing that I feel wonderful about is my relationships. I have, as I mentioned earlier, three wonderful children. I have a fabulous relationship with them. I feel like they're a support system. We've switched roles almost like I have the respect of mother, but we're also friends, and they consult me on decisions. Not that I tell them what to do, but they ask me my thoughts and opinions. And likewise, I ask them their thoughts and opinions, and I get some great input. I have five wonderful, darling grandchildren who I enjoy, and I'm going to be enjoying a couple of them this weekend because it's a holiday weekend. I have met some of the most wonderful ladies here in this community, and two in particular have become my sisters. They are such a support system for me that it's beyond friendship. I have to just say sisters because their support whenever I go somewhere to speak or do something to promote my book, they're right there for me. I've never experienced this in my life. So my relationships with these two women in particular, but in many of the women that I have met in this community. I was invited to a lunch yesterday by a new group of women, and I had the most wonderful, wonderful time. And as I mentioned earlier, I coach people to author their book, and I was sitting next to a lady, and she said, "Oh, would you coach me to author my book?" I said, "Absolutely." So that was a fun, exciting time for her and me. My health, I am enjoying at 76. I can move with the best of them, and to be physically able to walk fast and do kickboxing and do water aerobics and move around and drive myself wherever I need to go. And I know that unfortunately there are people my age who are bedridden or who have terminal illnesses. So I am truly, truly blessed to have excellent health that I can pursue all these dreams and goals of mine. And finally, community. I live in a wonderful community that has so many things that I can avail myself of, which causes me to interact with other wonderful people, and I've made many friendships through the activities that the community affords me. So it is just a wonderful life.
Well, yeah, everybody who's listened to my programs know how important physical fitness and exercise is to me. And this morning before the shows, I was in the gym. I worked out an hour and a half this morning, and
Yeah.
it's what keeps me going, because I have a lot of, physical problems, but I do this because if I didn't, I wouldn't be moving at all. So I agree with you. So you're really looking forward to writing more books. You're looking forward
Yeah.
to coaching more people and helping them write their books. And
Yes.
you also, now, do your kids and your grandkids live near you?
No, no. Well, my daughter, one daughter lives somewhat near me. She lives in Tampa, which is about an hour and 15 minutes away from me. My younger daughter and my son and his family live in Atlanta, Georgia. So they don't live near me, but we communicate rather frequently. One of my daughters, I call myself the ride-along, because when she's on her way to work, I talk to her because traffic is terrible in Atlanta. And so I keep her company on the way to work so that she can not get upset with all the traffic. And in the meantime, we discuss world issues or personal issues, whatever the case may be.
Well, that's so important, because I have to tell you, when my mom was alive and was living, in a home, my sister had her practice. She was a psychotherapist, and my sister had her practice downstairs, and my mom lived upstairs. And she would tell us that the other women on the block, their kids never contacted them. They never talked to them. They didn't really want anything to do with them. And that was so foreign to us. Now, I won't tell you I talked to my mom every day. I did not. But we had a standing appointment every Sunday. I would call at the specific time she wanted me to call. And we caught up with what was going on. And of course, if there was anything else, and of course, during 35 years of her life, she lived with me during the winter months, because my dad had passed away. So, it's important that families keep in touch and are together at this point. So when you talk about, I would like to know more about teaching these prisoners about self-esteem. I had the opportunity to work with what's called youthful offenders, and I had a program on the West Coast and the East Coast of Florida, and I had people teaching the program for me, and we had to do a report. I think it was every week we had to send in a report, and so we gave each of these. They were young men. They were not young women. They were young men. Postcards. They were stamped postcards, which they were supposed to return to us with what they gained, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I only got one postcard out of all those people. And when I went to the head of the authority that had hired me, and I said, I'm really disappointed. Am I really accomplishing what you want me to accomplish? And he said something that has stuck with me all these years. He said, our goal is not to keep them out of prison. Our goal is to keep them out of prison longer. And I thought that was kind of sad, So I was just wondering about the people that you dealt with.
Well, the sad thing is, first of all, my approach is kind of like Mom, Dr. Phil, and Oprah all rolled into one person, because I'm pretty direct when needed. And I would teach them manners, because I did do workshops for 6-week periods. And for example, if I was answering someone's question and another one interrupted, I would say, sit down, be quiet, and wait until he's finished. When I'm finished answering him, I'll answer your question. And many of the men said to me, I had youthful offenders too. I had women, I had men, and unfortunately with the women, some of them really didn't commit a crime. They were with the wrong guy and they were arrested with their boyfriends or whatever, which was a very sad thing. But many of them told me at the end of the program that if I had a mother like you, I wouldn't be here. And I totally, having been a teacher, totally understand and relate to that. All they needed was discipline. They needed structure. They needed guidance. Children don't know, and I don't know why some of these parents don't get it, that we're there to give guidelines to our children, not to ask them, well, what do you think, honey? Do you want to? They can't make that decision. They don't have the resources or the knowledge or the experience to make certain decisions. And I hear parents asking, well, what do you want to do? Well, they don't have the capability of making that decision. I'll never forget, I did a special program in Atlanta for children who had learning disabilities. And in 6 weeks, I got 2 children to read on a 3rd grade level and prevented a lawsuit against one of Fulton County in Atlanta, Georgia. And the one woman was so thrilled, she asked her friend, she said, oh, this was a marvelous program. You need to have your daughter in it. And she said, let me recommend this lady. So I called the other mother, and I said, Mrs. So-and-so recommended me. And she said, well, let me ask Mary Beth if she wants to do reading. Well, Mary Beth is going to say no because she doesn't like to read because she doesn't know how to read. And I thought, how could you do something like that? But at any rate, getting back to the prisoners, they loved the structure that I gave them. They loved and the compassion. We talked about being heart-centered. They knew I cared about them, and I showed that. I had one young man who couldn't read. He was still 25, 26, whatever. And he came up to me and whispered that he couldn't read. And I said, you don't have to read. I said, go to the library, get picture books, and sit with your little girl on your lap and just tell her about the pictures. And his face lit up like a Christmas tree that I did not say, oh, my God, you can't read. Oh, my goodness, what's wrong with you? I was understanding because he couldn't read and he didn't have that training. And hopefully at some point in his life he got that. But at that moment in time, I gave him an out because he was about to be paroled and felt very ashamed of himself. So,
wow.
It was a wonderful experience for me. When I first went, before I even got to these people, I was kind of nervous. I thought, oh, it's prison, whatever. But when I got there, I said, oh, shoot, I'm mom. And the unfortunate thing was there were so many talented, wonderful people who were sitting in prison, and it just broke my heart.
Wow. Well, let's find out how people can get a hold of you, Phyllis. We're coming to the end of our program, and I want people to know how to reach you and so forth. So what's the best way to get a hold of you?
By email, lifecoach0218@gmail, or on Facebook. I have a Facebook page, Sassy, Classy, and Smart, for my book, or Phyllis McNeal on Facebook. So those are the 2 easiest ways. I'm working on some others. I am on Instagram, Phyllis McNeal 93, and I am on Twitter at Phyllis McNeal, but I'm not as proficient yet with those.
Well, remember, folks, it's Phyllis, Phyllis. There's 2 L's in Phyllis, and McNeal is McNeal. So you can get her on email, lifecoach0218@gmail.com. You can get her on Facebook, Sassy, Classy, and Smart. You can get her on Twitter at Phyllis McNeal. So any way you want to reach her, you should be able to get a hold of her. I think you'll just have a delightful time listening to what she has to say and how she says it. And as you can see, everything is done with practicality and love, which are the 2 best combinations I know. We have just about 30 seconds left, Phyllis. Is there anything you would like to add that we haven't talked about?
No, but I would just encourage your listeners to believe in yourself.
Good advice. Yes. Believe in you, because there's only one of you and there's no one else like you. So believe in yourself, believe in how you are and what you are and how you treat other people, and you'll have the best of everything. Wow, that was great. Well, my guest has been Phyllis McNeal. She's the author of the book Classy, Sassy, Classy, and Smart. And I'm sure you can get it at Amazon or at Barnes and Noble. And I think that you should pay attention to what Phyllis has to say. Thanks so much for being with us today, Phyllis.
My pleasure. Thank you so much, Dr. Carson.